On the eve of the college entrance exam, the nanny at home fell ill. I took all my New Year's money, ready to give it to the nanny's daughter, Lu Qin, for emergency help. As soon as I opened the door, I saw countless subtitles floating before my eyes. Here it comes. The supporting female character is about to discover that her boyfriend is passionately kissing the female lead. Exactly. The little New Year's money she has is nothing compared to what the male lead can casually spare, of course. Qin would choose the male lead, thinking of He, that stingy miser. I silently retracted my foot. In that case, I wish her success. Seeing me close the door and return to my room to work on problems, the barrage on the screen instantly exploded. What's going on? Why isn't the female supporting character going out anymore? If she doesn't go out, how can she make the female lead feel threatened and win He's sympathy? My hand paused while writing the question, so. It turns out that my provocation is needed for He to show sympathy. I chuckled. Do these people even understand that a playboy like He doesn't need any emotional fluctuations to get aroused? At that moment, another bullet comment caught my attention. But without Fang Yi's money in the early stages, how could Qin help her mother get through the crisis? Don't worry, don't worry. Qin once overheard the conversation between the supporting female character and her parents and learned that she had 500,000 yuan in cash from her New Year's money. Fang Yi treats Qin as a close friend, so as long as Qin asks, Fang Yi will definitely hand it over to her without hesitation. Although 500,000 yuan isn't a huge amount, it's enough to solve the urgent problem. The bullet comments continued to scroll. A cold smile crept onto my face. Did she overhear my conversation with my parents by accident? The study on the third floor is divided into separate compartments. Not only are the maids and others usually not allowed on the third floor, but even if they were, unless they pressed their ears against the door, they wouldn't be able to hear a fight inside. Lu Qin is really too careless, but the barrage is right. 500,000 isn't much. Lu Qin definitely wouldn't care about such a small amount of money. Thinking of this, I casually contacted my dad's secretary. I'll take that jade bracelet from the other day. The barrage instantly exploded again. What's up with the supporting female lead? The barrage seems to have a big issue with me spending the money. The insults hurled at me were endless, and I was filled with righteous indignation. I closed the book and got into bed. The supporting female character really deserves to die, kicking her best friend when she's down at her most helpless moment. The supporting female character spent all the money. What will Qin do? The villainous supporting female character can only be a villainous supporting female character. Even if given 10,000 chances, she would still just stand by and do nothing. Bullet comments are really strange. What kind of malicious supporting character would think of lending their New Year's money to a good friend in an emergency? These people are simply too naive. I stopped looking at what the bullet comments were saying and focused on solving the problems. The next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, a screen full of pink bubbles rushed into my sight. What should Lu Qin do? With Lu Qin and He together, do we still need to worry about what to do? Sure enough, the moment I opened my eyes the next morning, I was greeted by a screen full of pink bullet comments. Is this something I'm allowed to see? As expected of the male lead. His stamina is just that good. Night after night of revelry. This is the right way for the male and female leads to open up. Write more. I love watching it. I didn't pay attention and continued to get up and do my homework. The barrage immediately sneered at me. The supporting female character still doesn't know that her boyfriend has already slept with someone else. Does she? My hand paused while writing the question. Did He really win over Lu Qin so quickly? Could it really be as the barrage said, that He and Lu Qin have already been together? I took out my phone and dialed He's number. After a brief ring, the call was disconnected. Instantly, countless mocking comments flooded the screen. The villainess still doesn't know that her boyfriend is sleeping with her best friend. Does she? But they were quickly drowned out by other comments. The female lead endured humiliation to study with the villainess, and now that her mother is sick, the villainess not only shows no concern but also forces the female lead to lower her head to the male lead. Study, while other people's kids are already running errands. All you know how to do is study. Is it inappropriate for a minor to write such a plot? Finally, a normal comment appeared, but it was quickly drowned out. The male lead spent a few extra years to solidify his foundation. And the female lead endured humiliation to accompany the supporting female character in her studies. They're both adults now. Okay, endured humiliation. A hint of coldness flickered in my eyes. So, is this how Lu Qin has always thought of it? When she attended the private lessons with me that cost thousands per session, there was no sign of her enduring humiliation or bearing a heavy burden. The heavy rain hadn't stopped, and the sound of a keypad lock opening came from outside. Unlock failed. Unlock failed. What the hell is going on? Did the female supporting character change the password last night? The female supporting character is just that, supporting character. Not only does she not care that her good friend didn't come home all night, but she even changed the door code. What's on her mind? Those who know. The female lead's mother is already sick and pitiful, and now she's locked out by her good friend. I can't even imagine how helpless she must feel right now. Helpless, I opened the door, and Lu Qin outside was drenched in rain, looking as if she had been soaked for a long time. Her eyes were brimming with tears as she looked at me, appearing almost shattered. Why did you change the password at home? Oh my heart aches for our Qin. Why hasn't the supporting female character poured water for Qin yet? Can't you see she's soaked to the skin? The villainous supporting female character always kicks someone when they're down, taking advantage of our poor Qin and bullying her at every turn. Poor Qin. She's willing to do anything to treat her mother's illness, yet she doesn't dare tell the supporting female character. What a pitiful little thing. I watched the flicker of cunning in Lu Qin's eyes and said, when too many people know the password, there are no secrets left in the house. Fear not the thief who steals, but the thief who covets. Lu Qin's face instantly turned deathly pale. Before the barrage of comments could pass judgment on my character, Lu Qin couldn't hold back any longer. What do you mean by that? Tears streaming down her face, Lu Qin fixed her almond-shaped eyes on me. We grew up together, and you actually suspect that I would take your money. Did I mention money? I retorted. Lu Qin realized she had misspoken and quickly tried to make amends. No, it's not that. You said back then that if I ever faced any difficulties, you would definitely help without hesitation. I chuckled lightly. I was young and naive back then. You didn't actually take that seriously, did you? A flicker of resentment flashed in Lu Qin's eyes as she stepped forward and linked her arm with mine. Ever since we were kids, your parents were always busy. It was my mom who worked tirelessly to raise both of us. Now that she's sick, I really have no other choice. I know this amount isn't small, but I will definitely pay you back in the future. Once my mom recovers, I'll have her make you your favorite black chicken and red date soup. A bullet comment floats by. Woo, our Qin is truly a little angel, lowering herself and flattering someone who looks down on her, all for her mother. I declare this is the resilient female lead. Who else? I sneer at the bullet comments and pull my arm away. It seems you've misunderstood something. Your mother came to our house to work as a nanny, and we paid her for it, getting paid to do the job. Isn't that just how it should be? Lu Qin bit her lip, clenched her fists, and looked at me with a heartbroken expression. I thought, we were good friends. My mom may be your family's nanny, but I'm not. You don't have to talk to me like you're so superior. The barrage of comments was flying fast and furious. Exactly. The way the supporting female character acts all high and mighty is just disgusting. I beg you, is this really something a childhood friend should do, kicking someone when they're down? I've truly learned something new. Lu Qin seemed to notice the change in me, gritting her teeth. She suddenly knelt down in front of me with a thud. I'm begging you, for the sake of our childhood together, I promise I'll pay you back. Please, just help me out in this emergency. A comment on the screen read, poor Qin, don't worry, that wicked supporting character won't even live long enough for you to pay her back. Her family is about to go bankrupt, and with her death, the debt will be gone. It's all karma. A cold smile curled at the corner of my lips. Sorry, I just spent all my money on that jade bracelet we saw last time. Lu Qin's face turned even paler, her body swaying unsteadily. You clearly know that I crouched down and looked at her. What should I know? Lu Qin avoided my gaze. Following the clues from the bullet comments, I reached for the torn corner of her clothes, which had been ripped by He, the cross-shaped tear, a signature quirk of He. I chuckled softly. Your clothes are torn, Qin. Lu Qin trembled all over. as if she had suffered some great injustice. I continued, change into your own clothes and move out. Nanny Lu has already resigned, so it's not appropriate for you to continue living in our house. Lu Qin's hand holding mine trembled slightly. She looked up at me, her whole body shaking, and I actually saw a hint of excitement in her eyes. I continued, and there's also the living expenses and tutoring fees you've incurred over the years at our house. Since Aunt Lu has resigned, it doesn't seem appropriate for you to continue living with us, don't you think? Lu Qin wiped her face, straightened her back, and stood up, giving me a smug smile. Fang Yi. You don't really think I can't survive without you, do you? She dialed Heji's number right in front of me. Brother, I miss you so much. Heji's hoarse voice came from the other end. You little greedy cat, come quietly, don't let Fang Yi find out, I'll reward you. After hanging up the phone, Lu Qin looked at me smugly. Didn't expect that, did you? The person your family arranged for you to marry is now in my grasp. You've been a doormat for so many years, and in the end, you still have nothing. Fang Yi, do you think you'll always be above me? You just had the luck of being born into a better family than me. Lu Qin slammed the door and left. The barrage was filled with unanimous praise. Qin, well done. The supporting female character is truly vicious, thinking that Qin's fate can only be manipulated by her, not realizing that the ruby necklace she has her eye on was already given to our Qin by Heji. That ruby necklace is worth 2 million. If Lu Qin sold it, she really wouldn't need to rely on my 500,000 to get by. My phone dinged, and Lu Qin sent me a photo, the ruby necklace resting on her chest, with Heji kissing it. I held back and blocked her in return. The barrage fell silent for a second. A comment floated across the screen. To be honest, isn't Qin being a bit too much? I knew Lu Qin's provocations wouldn't end, but I never expected him to come to school wearing that ruby necklace. She deliberately stood in front of me and said to the curious classmates around, my boyfriend, I think my skin tone really complements this necklace. What do you think? This ruby necklace was something Lu Qin and I went to look at together, and it was also the one I messaged Heji about right in front of her, telling him I wanted this one, but this was clearly the gift I had chosen for Heji's mother, and now it was being worn by Lu Qin. Heji was surrounded by a crowd as he walked over, with Lu Qin nestled in his arms. Brother, I'm a bit reluctant to bring it. I hope no one secretly envies me and tries to take it back later. Qin isn't good at arguing, so you must help me out when the time comes. Brother, Heji's playful gaze fell on me. Don't worry, she's a proper fiancée and knows how to behave. Two carbon-based beings, yet not a single brain between them. I sighed and forced a smile. Yes. The quality of this ruby necklace is truly excellent. Let me say, our Qin is also an exceptionally filial girl. I heard your mother is so ill she's lying in the intensive care unit. It must have been difficult for you to find such a fine gem. Are you planning to sell it to pay for your mother's treatment? It's a bit of a shame, but your filial piety is commendable. By the way, do you have any channels? If not, I can recommend a few for you and offer you a good price. Upon hearing this, the people around immediately started chattering. Are you really going to sell it? Qin, I can buy it, I can buy it. This school is filled with children from wealthy families. Lu Qin only managed to attend this school because of my influence. She is insecure, sensitive, and has a strong sense of self-respect. As the saying goes, to hit a snake, strike its vital spot. Lu Qin's face immediately darkened, her small face turning deathly pale. She looked helplessly at Heji, hoping he would speak up for her, brother, but to her surprise, Heji walked straight past her and came up to me, a carefree smile on his face. Are you jealous, my fiancé? Everyone in the class knows that Heji has a fiancé, which is nothing unusual in our circle. But what they didn't expect is that I am Heji's fiancé, and just now, Lu Qin, who has always been close to me, was clinging to my boyfriend in front of everyone, unable to part. Everyone's gaze toward Lu Qin became subtle. Her face flushed, then paled, then flushed again, before she glared at me fiercely, turned, and ran away. Heji didn't care at all, putting his hand on my shoulder. Honey, I'll buy you a better one. I ignored his words, my eyes fixed on the bullet comments. Damn. The male lead is a bit disgusting, isn't he? Why doesn't he care about our Qin? Why, it's quite normal. The male lead's family has a rule that the engagement cannot be broken unless there is an issue between the two parties involved. Poor Chin Chin, she can only lick her wounds alone, crying while holding a ruby necklace worth millions. That is truly pitiful. He was displeased with my distraction. All right. As long as we are heart to heart, our engagement will not be called off. What about Lu Qin? He's expression faltered. That was just an accident. The bullet comments were scrolling quickly. The male lead is also quite pitiful, having to compromise with the female lead because of his family elders. When will they finally get together? I'm so anxious. Don't worry, sister. The female supporting character is already on her way to complain to the female lead's parents. That's great. The female supporting character's parents are very kind people. In the original story, after the female supporting character brought about her own downfall, her parents left all their family property to Chin Chin as compensation. Exactly, if they knew the supporting female character was someone who wouldn't lift a finger to help others, they would definitely cut off all family ties with her. My expression turned cold as my phone rang, and my mother's stern voice came through from the other end. Come back home for a while. Lu Qin showed me a screenshot of a check, 1 million. Not everyone in the world is as cold-blooded as you are. I immediately saved the screenshot. Okay, Mom, I actually have something I want to talk to you about too. By the time I got home, Lu Qin was already gone. Seeing my gaze sweep around the room, my mother's expression immediately darkened. Stop looking, Chin Chin has already taken the money to the hospital. Hearing this, I let out a long sigh of relief and said, then I can rest easy. Upon hearing this, my mother's expression immediately grew even more troubled. Rest easy about what? Even though Auntie Lu is our employee, she has truly taken good care of you all these years, allowing your father and me to focus on our work outside. Now that she's sick, how can you, as the child she's watched grow up, just stand by and do nothing? I pretended to be surprised. Mom, is that what Chin Chin told you? I frowned and let out a long sigh. It seems she didn't tell you either. What? I said with some sadness. Chin Chin and I grew up together since childhood. I was also very sad to learn that Aunt Lu was sick. I originally intended to lend all 500,000 to Chin Chin for the emergency, and she could pay me back after she started working. It wouldn't be too late, but I never expected that Chin Chin had no intention of taking it at all. I said somewhat awkwardly, it seems she found a boyfriend at our school. After hearing this, my mother's expression changed. In our social circle, given Lu Qin's situation, what might have happened with a boyfriend could be guessed almost without thinking. My mother said seriously, Chin Chin is a child we've watched grow up. Do you know what it means for you to say this? Dad also walked over. You can't say such things carelessly. I sighed. Mom, Dad, of course I know that spreading such a thing would harm Chin Chin's reputation. But now everyone in the class knows about it. Today, Chin Chin brought a ruby necklace worth $1 million to school. I think it must have been a gift from her boyfriend. It seems she really doesn't need my measly 500,000 anymore. Mom looked at Dad with a grave expression. Is everything you said true? I quickly nodded. Mom, even if I were being thoughtless, I wouldn't joke about Aunt Lu's illness. Besides, I suspect Chin Chin has been in a relationship for quite a while. She didn't come home for several nights recently. Dad walked over and said seriously, but Aunt Lu never received the medical payment. She just called your mom today, asking for an advance on her salary to cover the medical expenses. I gave the money to Lu Qin right before you arrived. The barrage of comments fell into an eerie silence. How could that be? Chin Chin only got together with the male lead in the first place to pay for her mother's medical treatment. Exactly. It must be that her mother's illness was too severe and the money wasn't enough, so she came to ask the female supporting character's parents for it. At that moment, a sudden bullet comment popped up, but Lu Qin never went to the hospital. She went to the bank and deposited both the necklace and the 1 million yuan. This can't be true. I looked at the stubborn comments below and sneered. How is that impossible? Lu Qin has always been a person with insatiable desires. The comments paused for a moment. Holy shit, the supporting female character can see what we're saying. I've been able to see it for a long time. I said coldly. I didn't start seeing the comments on the day I planned to give Lu Qin money. I could see them from the very first time Lu Qin stepped into our home. She stole my mother's jewelry and wandered around my father's study door in sexy pajamas in the middle of the night. These are the foolish things your so-called good female lead has done. I picked up my phone and pulled up the surveillance footage. Would you like to take a closer look? A minor seducing an adult man. Lu Qin is clever. She knows that public opinion in today's society will protect her well. No one would believe that a teenage girl took the initiative to seduce someone. That's why I secretly installed cameras in the hallway without telling anyone. This is also why, from then on, my father no longer allowed the cleaning staff and nannies to go up to the third floor. Watching the usually surging barrage of comments disappear before my eyes, I pulled up the video of Lu Qin secretly taking my mother's jewelry, then picked the smallest one and put it in my pocket. I have to thank you all for this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to foresee it. Are you going to send Qin to prison? I shook my head gently. No, it's not over yet. Have you forgotten? There's still one most important plot that hasn't happened yet. On the day of the college entrance exam, Lu Qin was waiting for me at the school gate early in the morning. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said those things to you the other day. We grew up together, and you are the most important person in my heart. He is just a scumbag, and I see that clearly now. You are the one who cares about me the most in this world. She walked over and leaned her whole body against my shoulder. Will you blame me? Of course not. I laughed. A flicker of surprise passed through Lu Qin's eyes. Really? Woo-woo-ee. I knew it. That jerk definitely isn't as important to you as I am. I've figured it out. Let's take the college entrance exam together and go to Beijing together. She pulled my arm like a spirited girl, cheering herself on, her face beaming with a youthful smile. As she spoke, she suddenly remembered something. Oh, right, I bought some soy milk on the way here. Drink it while it's hot. After we finish, we should get going. The barrage of comments seemed to hesitate, and I smiled at Lu Qin. Qin, is there something you want to say to me? Say what? Lu Qin pretended to look at me with feigned innocence. For example, among all the men in the world, why did you have to fall for He? For example, do you truly love He? Or do you just enjoy comparing yourself to me and the thrill of trampling me underfoot? Lu Qin's face stiffened as she handed me the soy milk with a straw poked in. What are you talking about? How could I be that kind of person? We have an exam today, so don't overthink it. Let's talk about everything after the exam. At worst, I'll call He out and let you beat him up to vent your anger. Bullet comments drifted sparsely across the screen. Sometimes, I really wish I had never spoken up for Lu Qin. It suddenly dawned on me that, setting aside the protagonist's background and halo, things like theft, seducing a friend's father, stealing a friend's fiancé, and ignoring a sick mother are actually quite disgusting. Upstairs, it's disgusting even without setting those aside. Suddenly someone said to me, "Don't drink that soy milk." Lu Qin put something in it. Holding the soy milk cup, I looked innocent. I've almost finished it. Soon, I felt my head getting hot and my limbs going weak. The teacher noticed something was wrong and asked if I wanted a doctor. I shook my head. Anyway, the exam hasn't started yet. I'll go to the spare classroom to rest for a bit. All the college entrance exam rooms had been checked, so the teacher wasn't worried I'd try to cheat and let me go. When I entered, I saw Lu Qin smiling at me, raising her fist and saying, "Go for it, Fang Yi." Less than half an hour after the college entrance exam bell rang, Lu Qin rushed out of the exam hall and headed straight for the backup classroom, with a group of invigilators chasing after her. Afraid to make a loud noise, the patrolling teachers could only follow behind her, worried that she might barge into a classroom and cause trouble, which would ruin everything. Fortunately, Lu Qin was quite focused. She looked at the group of teachers and police chasing after her, tears streaming from her eyes as if she had suffered the greatest injustice. "None of you understand. You don't understand that my best friend drugged me on the day of the college entrance exam. If I hadn't discovered it in time, the one making a fool of themselves inside would have been me. I don't want to become a plaything that can only submit to others. I want to have my own life. I want to cure my mother's illness. I want to go to college. I don't want to become someone who changes beyond recognition for a man, even at the cost of my best friend." She pushed open the door of the backup classroom with a swift motion, and it was empty inside. There is only one portable television, playing footage shot from a tricky angle, showing Lu Qin clinging to a man. Her fair, delicate legs, the tips of her toes tensed, and her charming voice. "Marry me, will you marry me?" The man's voice hesitated. "You know our family's rule, unless one party commits a serious moral offense, breaking off an engagement is not allowed," Lu Qin said with a smile. "The college entrance exam is coming up soon, why not just let her embarrass herself in the exam hall? What's the big deal? Coincidentally, I have a friend who has that kind of medicine, just give a little to that little brat Fang Yi, and she'll be a mess in the college entrance exam hall." Lu Qin's face turned pale. "No, that's not it. Where's Fang Yi? Why isn't she here?" Outside the school gate, I sat in the Rolls Royce, sipping my drink, while He Ji sat beside me. It's about time. The police escorted Lu Qin out of the campus, where outside were long guns, cannons, and countless eagerly waiting parents. Seeing this scene, they all took out their phones to film, gathering together and whispering, "What's going on? Cheating on the college entrance exam?" He Ji asked. "How is it? This is my coming-of-age gift to you, the true face of a backstabbing and ungrateful best friend." I laughed. "Even if you hadn't stepped in, I could have made her pay the price, but you really did me a huge favor this way." He Ji looked at me with confusion, and I flashed him an 8-tooth smile. "He Ji, I've been putting up with you for a long time." My parents had already seen the news. As soon as I got home in the evening, my mother rushed over. "Are you okay?" Her expression was grim. "I've already asked someone about it, and they sent me the full version of the video. I never expected Lu Qin to be that kind of person, after all our family has done for her." My father wrapped an arm around my mother. "I always said that girl had ill intentions, but you insisted I was just being paranoid." A look of apology appeared on Mom's face. "But it's good that E is fine. I hope it didn't delay your exam today." "I didn't take the exam," I said, spreading my hands. "I forgot to tell you, but I actually got a direct admission offer." My parents were stunned for a moment, then quickly realized. "So you went to the exam hall today just to—" "Lu Qin has been scheming against me for so long. Before she's brought to justice, I should pay her back once too." I gathered all the evidence of the disgraceful things she had done: theft, framing others, disrupting the order of the college entrance exam, and defrauding a huge amount of property. Bad people always have to pay the price. This was said to the barrage comments. They still find it hard to believe. How did my strong and resilient female lead turn out like this? It took a long time before someone replied, "Desire nurtures ambition." The barrage also revealed a secret to me. Actually, Lu Qin was reborn. The barrage said that in her previous life, Lu Qin did not choose to leave the mountains with Aunt Lu. She chose her father, who owned a self-built house, over her impoverished mother. However, she never expected that her father would quickly remarry and, after having a son, completely ignore her. Lu Qin started dating a troublemaker, had a child with him while still underage, and before she even reached adulthood, the troublemaker married someone else. Lu Qin caused a scene at the wedding and was stabbed to death by the drunken father of the groom. She attributed all of this to the whims of fate, so when the wheel of fate turned once again, she did not hesitate to choose to follow her impoverished mother. Aunt Lu was diligent and hardworking, and soon found an employer who allowed her to bring her child to work, provided food and accommodation. That is, our family. The moment Lu Qin stepped into the Fang family villa, her heart began to beat with renewed vitality. She had Aunt Lu conceal her age, just so she could attend the private middle school with me. Every day, she was picked up and dropped off by the driver, dressed in the designer clothes my mother bought. At school, Lu Qin carried herself more like a young lady than the actual young lady, and she loved the feeling of being surrounded by people. Soon, her desires grew wildly, and she craved more and more until one day, when no one was around, she walked into her mother's dressing room and took her first pair of earrings. She chose what she thought was the most inconspicuous pair from the collection, a pair of emerald earrings her mother had won at an auction, worth millions. Then, on another late night, she stood at the door of her father's study wearing a revealing nightgown. As soon as her father stepped out, he thought he had encountered a female ghost and threw a fist the size of a sandbag at her. Lu Qin stayed at home for 7 days to let the swelling go down. From then on, she gave up her longing for her father and turned her attention to my fiancé. He Ji, why do you have everything from the moment you're born? I'm the female lead. Everything you have should be mine. In the prison, Lu Qin completely dropped her disguise. She tilted her head and looked at me, saying, "You were supposed to be utterly disgraced that day. Driven to jump off a building from the shock. Why? Why were you recommended for admission instead?" Of course, it's because from the day I realized I could see the bullet comments and foresee the future, a surge of defiance welled up in my heart. Why should my life be written and predetermined by others? In this world, the only person who can firmly grasp their own destiny is me. I completely changed my previously lazy attitude, studying tirelessly throughout all 3 years of high school. When I finally received the admission notice, my heart was filled with immense joy. That was a future completely different from what the barrage comments had described. You lost because you were selfish and greedy. You will never understand that in this world, there is only one kind of person who can be called the female lead, the kind who can firmly seize their own destiny, and a person with corrupt values, even if reborn 10,000 times, would never become the female lead. Lu Qin refused to give up. "It's fine, it's fine. He will come to save me." He said I'm the one he loves most in this world, unlike you, who has been his fiancée for so many years and hasn't even gotten a single kiss from him. He said as long as I can conceive his child, I can become the daughter-in-law of the He family. The certainty in her words made me feel as though I must be hallucinating. Didn't you see the video in the backup exam room with your own eyes? From that angle, at that time and place. If the person taking the video wasn't you, then it could only be He. You even have him to thank for getting in here, don't you? Lu Qin turned her head. You just don't understand. He said he likes filming me this way, so he can watch the videos and think of me when he can't see me. We used to film so many videos together. I remained relatively calm, but the barrage of comments exploded. I really can't take it anymore. How can there be such an idiot in the world? Dear heavens, if I ever come across Lu Qin's content again, let me win $1 billion in the lottery. I'm asking, is her thought process that of a paramecium upstairs? Please be more precise and don't insult the paramecium. Looking at Lu Qin's smug expression, I let out a long sigh. The pitiable have their own detestable aspects. The root of Lu Qin's decay doesn't lie in this lifetime, but in the mud of her past life that she has never managed to leave behind, since you put it that way. Let me show you one more thing. 3 months after the college entrance exam, He, the male lead in the college entrance exam storm, was sent abroad by his family. The so-called marriage agreement between the two families was left unresolved. When Dad mentioned he spat fiercely. A fly doesn't land on an unbroken egg. What kind of good person could He be? I pressed the photo He sent me against the glass for Lu Qin to see. A church, a lawn, a wedding dress, a custom-made suit. And He laughing as if no one else was around. Has He gotten married? Lu Qin struggled to see more clearly, pushing forward desperately only to be pressed back onto the stool by the prison guard. How is that possible? How could He get married? I'm clearly the one He loves the most. He said he would marry me. He promised he would marry me. When he coaxed me into filming the video, he said he would definitely marry me in the future. How could he lie to me? I don't believe it. I refuse to believe it. Let me see He. Let me see He. Lu Qin's face was covered in snot and tears. Then she suddenly burst into laughter. What do you all know? He said he would marry me. Lu Qin had gone mad. When I left the prison, He sent me a message. Hey, it really doesn't feel good to be a cripple. He's leg was broken by his father, and in the end, at his mother's pleading, he was sent abroad. He soon entered into a marriage of convenience with a foreign lesbian. Of course, only He himself knew about it when they got married. When the He family found out, they were furious, but there was nothing they could do about him. Lu Qin has gone crazy, I told He. He's message came quickly. Just having some fun, why take it so seriously? He then added with relief, fortunately, Lu Qin is an adult. Otherwise I'd be in jail. He casually manipulated someone else's fate, fortunately. A price was paid. I turned off my phone and walked forward along Central Street. Through this crowded street, all the fate ahead is tightly held in my own hands. Little Tiger file anti-theft printing. Find the book robot and choose Little Tiger, stable and reliable. No pitfalls. The barrage appeared for the last time, filled with blessings for me. Fang Yi, may your future be as bright as brocade. Well, Fang Yi has a bright future ahead. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I feel like my boyfriend is reborn. He seemed to realize that I was a bad woman who was playing with his feelings. And he started to be especially nice to my sister, who was as beautiful as a lotus in pure water. That day, I saw him pushing my sister against the wall. With red eyes, he tossed her hair with forbearance and said, "Really, I'm so stupid. So you're the one I've been looking for. I missed you in my last life. I'll use everything I have in this life to make it up to you, okay?" This is the 5th time that Jiang Shuhui didn't pick me up after class. In the past, this would have been impossible. I sat by the window, staring at the continuous rain outside. Make sure your makeup is wet enough for the rain, then rushed into the heavy rain. Jiang Shuhui and Lin Qi were sitting in a coffee shop. He raised his hand and gently stroked her hair, and she shrank back shyly. I pushed open the door and barged into the store. The sound of a ring cut through the quiet atmosphere. My sister turned pale with fright, and Jiang Shuhui let go of his hand and looked up at me. "Why are you here?" I smiled slightly weakly. When I first entered the store, I looked at myself through the glass. The makeup wasn't too flashy, just enough to be sympathetic, so when I sat next to Jiang Shuhui, he didn't push me away. "You said you would pick me up. Did you forget again?" I leaned in close to him, almost bumping into his nose. I am confident enough about my appearance, especially like this, looking at him pitifully. So the man hesitated for a while, then lowered his eyes and apologized to me. "Feel sorry, Xiaoqi asked me about homework she didn't understand, so I wasted time. I didn't come to pick you up." I smiled and said generously that it was okay. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of my dear sister, her fists clenched under the table. The sad expression could hardly be hidden. I swore that oath when I was in middle school and that group of people forced my head into the toilet. I will do whatever it takes to live the life I want. Never let others see me in such a state, so I am not a good person, and I have never been a good person. I studied hard, practiced my body shape, and thought about how to show my best side to others and expand my social circle. I did whatever it took to make myself excellent, extremely excellent. So excellent that when others talk about my name, they would say, "Lin Xia, how can there be such a good girl in the world?" I finally gained the approval of my stern father. My teachers like me and my friends support me. I thought my life could always maintain such a delicate balance, until Lin Qi appeared. She is my father's illegitimate daughter. Lin Qi came here on her own. As soon as she appeared, the balance of the family was broken. I cried and asked my father why he had other women outside. But my father remained silent. Lin Qi huddled in the corner of the room, as if nothing was her fault. Moreover, Lin Qi seemed to have a kind of magical power. Her magic is naturally pitiful, which is different from the pretentiousness of mine. It seemed as if everyone around her would pity her. Soon after, my dad started to protect her. All my friends told me to be nicer to her, saying it wasn't my sister's fault and that I should never be a vicious stepsister like in TV dramas. Once again, I felt a sense of crisis, because I suddenly realized that everyone around me was being drawn away by her. I need to protect my territory. So I snatched Jiang Shuhui away, but rather than saying that I snatched it, it would be more accurate to say that Lin Qi gave it to me on his own initiative. Lin Qi, an enthusiastic and kind-hearted person, once participated in an earthquake relief activity. There she rescued Jiang Shuhui, the young master of the Jiang family, who was traveling in the mountains. Unfortunately, Jiang Shuhui's eyesight was somewhat impaired and his consciousness was a little blurred at that time. I can't remember her very clearly, so I took over the magpie's nest. Jiang Shuhui tried his best to find the person who saved him in the disaster area. Lin Qi refused to recognize him no matter what. I said, "Sister, if you really don't want him to recognize you, just introduce him to me." Lin Qi bit her lip and agreed, "But I want to." She probably regrets it now. Jiang Shuhui. Jiang Shuhui is a gentle and just person. When he was nice to me, I never missed 3 meals a day. And I remember my menstrual period very clearly. The green grapes given to me were all peeled. It was just him overnight. For me, it seems to have changed. His previous enthusiasm turned into resistance, and he was no longer willing to answer the calls I made. On Saturday morning, I went to Jiang Shuhui's studio. He studied oil painting and graduated from a top art academy abroad. In addition to the smell of scattered sunlight, there is also the aroma of pine resin in the studio. As I stepped into a wide space, I saw a person sleeping leaning against an easel from a distance. It seemed like he had been up all night, and the man's breathing became steady. I leaned over to look at his drawing paper. The person above looks 30% to 40% like me, smiling at the painter. But no paint has been applied yet. It took me a long while to react. It's definitely not me. It's Lin Chi. I seemed to be so engrossed in staring at the painting that I didn't even notice the man behind me woke up. I was squatting, and when I turned around, I happened to see him looking at me silently. What's wrong? Why are you drawing my sister? Can you draw me too next time? I simply sat in his arms. He sighed and hugged me. No time. The action was quite gentle, but the words were quite heartless. I think the phrase, each having his own ulterior motives, is the most appropriate to describe our current state of mind. However, I am indeed a good disguiser. I blinked and turned to look at him. Shu Huai. If I do something you don't like, you must tell me, okay? Don't hold it in, idiot. I reached out and pinched his nose. It's not just to show your weak side, it is also to find a way to ease the relationship. Sometimes not telling each other is the main culprit that causes relationship rifts. And now, I still need Jiang Shuhuai. His brown eyes stared at me for a long moment. Such seriousness gave me a feeling that I was digging a hole for myself. Soon I heard him ask me, "Were you really the one who saved me that day?" It's hard for me to answer this question. Jiang Shuhuai graduated from a prestigious university and his family's businesses cover half of the city. He is an ideal and suitable marriage partner for me to achieve a perfect life. It was true that I was with Jiang Shuhuai with the intention of getting married. After we got together, I realized that I was also a green hand when it came to relationships, so to sum it up simply, I was moved, so it was a bit difficult to deceive him, but he didn't wait for my reply. He pushed me off his legs, and for the first time, I saw disappointment in his eyes. No need to answer. Yes, my silence seemed to have answered everything, but I feel a little empty inside. It was like the city and fortress that I had built with great difficulty. It was so easy to be knocked down by someone with a loud bang. So, you broke up with Jiang Shuhuai. On the school rooftop, I was drinking coffee with another boy. His name is Lu Zhao, my junior. Although he is my junior, he is one of the few true friends I have, because we knew each other in middle school and he had seen me being bullied. She also helped me to take revenge on those female classmates who bullied me. I lowered my head and rubbed the mouth of the can. In this situation, Jiang Shuhuai hasn't explicitly broken up with me, but it's probably not far away. Oh, by the way, your sister has been visiting me quite often these days. Lu Zhao stretched and said to me with a smile. Now let me recall what you said. I will definitely be wary of what Lu Zhao said to me that day. Oh, by the way, your sister has been visiting me quite often these days, because gradually, as Lu Zhao and I talked, Lin Chi gradually appeared, after Jiang Shuhuai rarely contacted me. The person who often talks to me is Lu Zhao. My days are still very busy and I have a lot of competitions to attend, because it's not just about the relationship. I need to be perfect in every aspect in order to maintain my own personality. Life like this is very tiring, and I have actually always lived like this. I never complained until the day I had a speech contest. Something happened backstage that made me think about my life up to this point. Like a joke, I was the last one to speak on stage. It can also be considered the finale, so I ended up being the only one in the dressing room. When the door was pushed open with great force, I'm putting the last hairpin on myself. The person who came was my boyfriend, Jiang Shuhuai, whom I hadn't seen for a long time. Oh, he was holding another girl's hand, my sister, Lin Chi. He was furious, and Lin Chi was crying. He brought the girl in front of me and rolled up her sleeves to show me, "You did all this, didn't you?" There were red marks all over the girl's white arms. It looked like marks from being whipped, and I raised my eyebrows. This action seemed to make him even angrier. "What's that expression on your face? Heh, Lin Xia, you don't even let your own sister go, right?" My good sister was still sobbing and pulling at Jiang Shuhuai's sleeve. "Please, Shuhuai, don't ask anymore. It's none of my sister's business." Bukwai, what an intimate call. I lowered my eyes and stared at the wound on her hand. I had no idea how it happened. However, Jiang Shuhuai seemed to be convinced that I was the vicious culprit. I was just about to explain. Another person came in from the other side of the door. Lu Zhao walked into the room with his hands in his pockets, and I was relieved to see him. I want to smile more calmly. Jiang Shuhuai, think about it carefully. Why would I do this to my own sister? Lu Zhao, you came at the right time, you know. I've been bullied before, too. How could this happen? I paused in the middle of my sentence, because I saw Lu Zhao's expression. He had never looked at me with such disgust as he did at that moment. My mind was filled with memories that came to my mind uncontrollably. These days, Lu Zhao has been mentioning Lin Qi in my ear. Why is your sister so shy? Your sister is really bad at advanced math. I ran into your sister in the cafeteria today. Your sister. His voice was the last to be heard in the silent dressing room. I heard him speak word by word. Lin Xia, I really misjudged you. Just because you've been bullied, does that mean you have to bully others? This scene seems too familiar. I watched Lin Qi pitifully pulling at Jiang Shuhuai's sleeve. I looked at Lu Zhao and subconsciously stood in front of her. I smiled at them even though my eyelashes were trembling. Really, if you think I'm a bully, call the police. Let the police handle it, okay? I walked past them. Jiang Shuhuai suddenly grabbed my wrist. I heard him say, apologize to your sister. Lu Zhao stood in front of me, lowered his head and advised me, Lin Xia, I don't want you to become so vicious. I didn't do anything wrong. Why is everyone scolding me? I looked sideways and saw Lin Qi's eyes were red. In fact, she knew very well that I was not the one bullying her, but she just wouldn't say it. I pulled my wrist away and pushed them both apart. Sorry, you too. I'm really busy. I want to give a speech and take first place. I don't have time for you, at this hour. Are you still in the mood to attend your speech? Lu Zhao said this behind me, but I ignored him. I didn't look back and went up to the podium. Even though there is nothing behind me, I will still move forward. I finished that speech very smoothly. There was constant applause during the curtain call, and I smiled and thanked them, but my thoughts weren't there. I watched, off the stage, Lin Qi, who was wearing a white dress, was taken away by Jiang Shuhuai's hand. Lu Zhao followed behind her and hooked her ponytail with a little nostalgia. But why? Why is the spotlight on me? I didn't lose face. I didn't embarrass myself. My mood, yet, I was still swallowed up by the overwhelming loss. A few days later, Jiang Shuhuai suddenly came to see me. Actually, I don't have that much time to deal with emotional matters. Even if Jiang Shuhuai is gone, there will be other men to replace him. But when staring at the text message interface, I suddenly found that it was still a little difficult for me to let him go. Yes, I only talked to him. At the beginning, it was indeed for my own backup plan. Later, I really liked him a little. I held on to that little bit of expectation, hoping that he would look back at me, or maybe I realized that it was impossible for me to bully my own sister. But he called me to a remote gymnasium, then he grabbed my wrist and said, Lin Xia, can you please let your sister go? Why did you spread rumors that your sister was the third party who interfered with our relationship? We've broken up. Can you please have some shame? Lin Xia, I blinked, almost laughing out of anger. The little bit of attachment I had to him also vanished in an instant. No, Jiang Shuhuai, who told you that I spread rumors? He sneered. If not you, who else could it be? Your sister is so kind and always praises you in front of me. Can you please stop speculating about her with your petty mind? I'm so pissed off. You two hang out together every day. Who wouldn't think there's something fishy going on? Why do you have to blame me? He sneered at me with the corner of his mouth. Have you revealed your true colors, Lin Xia? Let me tell you, your sister is much more innocent and kind than you. I won't let you hurt her. Never again in this life. I wanted to yell, but the sound of a door slamming shut was the response. When I pulled the door again, I suddenly found that I couldn't open it. He locked me in here. This is the first time I've almost lost my defense. I pulled at the door violently, making a noise. Hey, Jiang Shuhuai, come back here. Why do you say that to me? You're mentally retarded. Aren't you? Since there was no one around, I cursed to my heart's content. I kicked the locked door hard. This gymnasium is in a very remote place and usually no one passes by. I've been pretending to be a good girl for too long, and this is just the right time for me to vent. When I was exhausted from kicking and my nose was sore, a chuckle suddenly came from beside me. Lin Xia, so you are this kind of woman? I turned my head slowly. A strange boy whom I didn't know at all was sitting on an abandoned mat in the gym. Shake your legs and look at me. He should have been sleeping there just now. So Jiang Shuhuai and I didn't notice that there was someone else here. When I saw him, my first reaction was, How many holes does this guy have? Brow studs, lip studs, ear studs. I hate any kid who breaks my traditional ideas, but he is handsome, flamboyant and unrestrained. I was stunned for a moment, and my expression changed a little slowly. Do we know each other? He smiled, a very innocent smile. What's wrong with you? Why weren't you kicking the door last second? How did you become a lady so quickly? I ignored his banter, asked him with a smile, classmate, do you know if there are other exits from this gymnasium? He shook his head, that one, locked up by your good boyfriend. I nodded and used my cell phone to call a friend to rescue me. He jumped off the cushion, put his hands in his pockets, and wandered over to me. Laughing in my ear, Lin Xia, you really don't know me. I turned to look at him. Well, he had a face that looked like he had a lot of girlfriends. I won't date this kind of guy because he doesn't match my criteria for a future partner at all. I don't know him. He raised his eyebrows. We added each other's contact information. How is that possible? I didn't believe it, so I took out my phone and let him loose. He lowered his head and entered his cell phone number, and then he actually found it. The notes are, 188 I don't care about money. He was silent for a while, then laughed narrowly in my ear. I suddenly remembered that in order to find a suitable boyfriend, I did some classification of the boys in my address book. Lin Xia, how come you don't even remember the fish you raised? He just keeps bringing up things that are not related to the topic. I looked at him again. I have a good memory and I didn't forget him. His name is Pei Chen, however. He in my memory is very different from him now. I met him at a cocktail party I attended with my dad. If Jiang Shuhuai's family's assets cover half of the city, then Pei Chen's family can be considered a large family that has truly penetrated into every aspect of the entire city. Even my dad wants to curry favor with me. The reason why I didn't recognize him, because I remember it very clearly. He was wearing a black suit at the cocktail party, as cold as an iceberg and keeping strangers away. He ignores me on WeChat, very cool. I asked him out several times, but was rejected every time. Since that encounter in the gym, Pei Chen started to look for me frequently, so my comments on him are, 188 I don't care about money, becomes, 188 rich psychopath. I would never tell him these things. His family is rich, which means connections to me. His interest in me is exactly what I want. As for talking about feelings, I completely understood one thing. Men are not good. Jiang Shuhuai and I are done. But he didn't seem to be with Lin Qi either. Sometimes at school he could be seen waiting for Lin Qi outside the classroom. So, he seemed to be still pursuing Lin Qi. I don't have time to take care of these things. My father started to hand over the management of the company to me, and I became even busier. In fact, I know that he was originally planning to teach Lin Qi, but Lin Qi is really not very smart. I thought I had finally surpassed Lin Qi. I thought that I had proved myself in front of him and that I could get my dad back. As a result, that afternoon, my father sat in the main seat and poured me a cup of tea. Say it word by word, Xiao Xia, you should study hard. From now on, you will assist your sister. I try so hard. I studied from dawn to dusk. I had no time to play, and I tried my best to gain recognition from others. What's the result? My dad just told me to learn these. And then paved the way for my sister who only knows how to talk about love. That afternoon, I had a big fight with my dad. He smashed the inkstone, pointed at me, and was so angry that he couldn't speak. Do you know that at that moment, I always felt that my father was going to tell me something that he had been hiding from me for a long time. As a result, a snow-white shadow rushed in. That's enough, Dad. Stop talking. Lin Qi stopped in front of my dad. Her eyes were red and she bit her lip. Sister, please don't blame Dad. Okay, it's all my fault. If it weren't for me, nothing would have turned out like this. I am a disaster star. She was sobbing and I didn't know why she should cry since I didn't even cry. I laughed, moved closer to her, and said word by word, yes, you are a disaster. She shuddered suddenly, like a frightened rabbit. My dad had already raised the dictionary and threw it at me, and this time, I couldn't dodge it. The severe pain in my forehead almost swallowed me, but I managed to hold back my tears. I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. I turned and walked out of the room, with my father roaring behind me. He told me to get out and never step into this house again. When did it all start? The people around me left me one by one. No matter how hard I tried, it was of no use. they all stood behind another person. That's my sister, Lin Chi. It's very strange, isn't it? It's like an invisible hand is controlling everything. I couldn't get first place in the competition. That place went to my younger sister. It's not because my ability is not as good as hers, but because the tutor saw my sister's efforts and said that my sister moved her. My sister always takes the initiative to add friends who I get along well with, under the pretext of wanting to be closer to her. Then after a while, for some reason, those friends would take the initiative to distance themselves from me. Recently, rumors have started to spread around the school again. Said, I was a school bully. She said, I am a vicious and hypocritical woman. He said, I have been bullied before, and now I am bullying my own sister. Some photos of me being bullied were leaked, and they were like a knife, cutting straight through my wounds. Only Lu Zhao has those photos. I asked him why he did that. It would be fine if they just spread rumors, but why did they also post the photos of me being hurt on the school forum? He said, these are what I deserve. Who made me bully my sister? What's the point of hanging yourself upside down like this? Pei Chen tilted his head and stood in front of me. I literally hung upside down from a lever in a remote gym. Of course, it was to keep myself from crying. But I forgot that Pei Chen also always came to this abandoned gymnasium to sleep. After spending so many days together, Pei Chen and I gradually became familiar with each other. I know he looks cool on the outside, but he's actually a fool. I know he is lonely too. That's why he always looks for me. No one wants to play with him because everyone says he is a disaster. Pei Chen, I read a novel recently. That's right. The fake daughter was acting arrogantly at home. And then the real daughter came back. I feel like I'm that fake daughter. I am the bad guy who usurped the throne, the vicious cannon fodder, and the second female lead who was deserted and slapped in the face in the end. He looked down at me and then smiled. Really, there's no other female lead as cute as you. He laughed and helped me down from the lever. Come down, or your head will get filled with blood if you keep going like this. Are you a little bat? The heavy rain outside the window continues. I suddenly asked him, do you think I'm a bully, too? He blinked, lowered his head, and pulled out the necklace he had been wearing around his neck. It was a somewhat worn copper six-pointed star necklace. Logically speaking, it is impossible for a young man like him to wear a necklace of this level. This was given to me by a little girl when I was in an orphanage. The six-pointed star necklace emits a dim light under the sunset. That little girl is my hope for survival. She told me that it is because there are cracks in life that light can shine in. Lin Xia, you can also be a gentle and kind person, a self-reliant protagonist, and the heroine whose life is finally fulfilled. It's up to you to decide which way to go, isn't it? Yes, so what if I'm played tricks by fate? What if the whole world is not on my side? Even if I die, I want to die beautifully. That's how I survive, even if my bones are broken. I will stand up, even if I am not happy. I will live happily to show others. I thought that as long as I was stubborn enough and refused to admit defeat, fate would one day be on my side. Unfortunately, I was wrong. After spending a long time together, Pei Chen would more or less hear some things about Lin Chi from me. He and Lin Chi have never met, and Lin Chi doesn't know that I know him, so she has never added him. Actually, I'm a little curious about what your little white lotus sister looks like. That day, Pei Chen bit the straw and suddenly said, Little White Lotus is the nickname he gave to my sister. I could tell from him that he didn't like my sister, but I still frowned subconsciously. Don't go looking for her. She is very evil, especially evil. I don't know what's wrong with me. In fact, I don't believe that Pei Chen would be bewitched by Lin Chi. He is different from others. At least he is a psychopath. And the thoughts of a psychopath are difficult to understand. But I just feel uneasy. What? You're afraid she'll take me away? Huh? Pei Chen got excited and wanted to tease me. I really am afraid. Pei Chen was the only one who stood by me, even though he was sick. Are you serious? There's no way I'd leave you. Pei Chen smiled easily, and at the same time, a delicate voice sounded behind me. Sister, why are you here? It's too late. I saw the man sitting opposite me, who was smiling just now, froze in place after seeing Lin Chi. That was the first time I felt that fate was holding me like a giant hand. When Pei Chen was in an orphanage, a little girl gave him a necklace, which he has been wearing ever since. Who is that little girl? My sister looked surprised and smiled at Pei Chen. Brother Chen Chen, why are you here? Little Sun Orphanage, do you still remember me? More than just remembering, he said. She was his hope for survival. What did I do that day? I turned around and left. I can imagine what happens next. When the two recognized each other, Pei-chen discovered that the light of his life was actually my sister. Then I stood by my sister completely. He would mock me, he would condemn me. I would say, Lin Xia, you are such a bad woman who only knows how to spread rumors about your sister. I am very familiar with this scene. This time I had the foresight to delete all his contact information. This way, if he wants to delete me later, I can still have the upper hand, but I still can't stop. I clearly said that I want to live a good life and let everyone see my brilliant and beautiful appearance. How could I just fall here? I took the initiative to ease the relationship with my father. My foundation is too weak now, and I have no ability to compete with him. So I made a bet with my dad that Lin Chi and I would jointly bid for a company's project. I won, and he let me lead the company's decision-making. I lost, and he didn't need me to assist my sister. So he just told me to pack up and leave. He said he no longer recognized me as his daughter. In fact, at this point, I roughly understand what position I hold in my father's eyes, and what exactly was it that he was hiding from me, but I had no choice but to smile and take on the project. As graduation approaches, I have indeed reached the point where I need to consider joining a corporate company. This is the first time I have taken on such a large project. Thanks to the experience I have accumulated in previous practice, I was able to get started quickly. I stayed up late at night working on a plan in the company. The lights in the entire building were turned off, but I didn't leave yet. And what about my sister? When she received the information about the competition, she was still confused and said, "Sister, I don't want to compete with you." However, I didn't dare to let my guard down against her. The company bidding this time is Pei Xin Group. The name contains the word Pei, which means it is actually a subsidiary of the Pei-chen family. In other words, Pei-chen may play a big role in the outcome of this bidding, but at this time, this person's name has quietly been placed on my blacklist. I revised the plan again until late at night. I rubbed my eyebrows. I didn't know since when people in the company started to spread the rumor that I was an arrogant and domineering young lady, so my subordinates didn't cooperate with me much, and instead complained about why they were not assigned to work under Lin Chi. I added some ink in the dead of night, but waves of powerlessness and loss swept over me. Why no matter how hard I try, there is always an unbreakable barrier. Why am I the one who puts in 10,000 efforts, and also the one who gets hurt? Is there really destiny? I turned off the computer and walked downstairs. A black phaeton stopped at the company gate. I looked up and saw that Pei-chen had taken off his earrings. He was wearing a black suit and was looking at me quietly. I wanted to get around him. He came forward and grabbed my wrist. I sneered and looked at him steadily. "What do you want to tell me? You're asking me to stop hurting my sister? Ask me to withdraw from this competition? Or do you want me to apologize to my kind, innocent, and lovely sister who has no ulterior motives?" In the silent wind, I saw him sigh. She raised her hand to tidy up my messy hair, then leaned over and smiled at me. "I told you to go to bed early and not stay up late." I stood there in a daze. He is indeed a psychopath who doesn't even want my sister. He and I leaned against the car. He lowered his head and played with the coffee cup in his hand. "Lin Xia, this bidding is designed entirely for your sister, although my family is bidding for that project. Our partners are Jiang and Lu, Jiang Shuhuai and Lu Zhao. Your sister can definitely rely on those two men to qualify for this bidding. From the moment this gamble begins, you're doomed to lose." No wonder my dad wasn't worried at all that I would take my sister's place. No wonder my sister is still busy entangled with Jiang Shuhuai and Lu Zhao. It was as if she had everything going for her, and all my luck had been taken away by her. "There is no moon tonight," I heard Pei-chen say softly. "I can help you. I think there's nothing wrong with it. Lin Chi has already handed over the design. I can help you steal it." The rest of his words speak for themselves. If I stole the design, I could have shown it first during the bidding. By then, Lin Chi will not be able to prove why her design draft is the same as mine. This seemed to be the only way to win her over. I stared at the man next to me. "Why are you helping me? You wore the necklace she gave you for so long." He was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "Oh, that, the days in the orphanage were actually quite painful. When I see her face, I think of these things, and I hate her even more. He is indeed sick." I didn't respond to him. 2 moths flew around the only street lamp, flapping their wings. I heard him say softly, "My father picked me up from an orphanage. After my mother gave birth to me, she abandoned me at the gate of the orphanage. Later, my father found me and confirmed that we were related by blood. I am his only blood-related offspring. He always wanted me to be in his position, but I didn't want to be the CEO on top. So what do you want to do?" I looked up and asked him, in the dark night. That was the first time that light flashed in Pei Chen's eyes. "I think." He paused, then smiled at me. "Forget it, Lin Xia. If I really get my dream job one day, I'll tell you." "Okay, later." I didn't let Pei Chen help me steal the design draft. I don't mind if you resort to vicious tactics to achieve your goals. I just simply don't like Lin Chi's design draft. It is an insult to me to claim that her things are mine. Soon, it was the day of bidding. I put on exquisite makeup and passed by Lin Chi. She wanted to pull my sleeve and called me timidly, "Elder sister, let's not do this, okay? Dad doesn't want us to be like this." Before, I was the best girl in everyone's eyes. Now, she is a bad woman that everyone avoids. If this were a novel, it would be almost the end, right? The kind and innocent career-oriented heroine starts her new life, and I, the vicious second female lead, am about to be offline. But, is there really a clear distinction between black and white, right and wrong in this world? I held the plan tightly in my hand, launch a final counterattack against fate. The result was a complete failure. This was indeed a bid designed for Lin Chi. Several partners present were related to Jiang Shuhui. When I saw this ex-boyfriend again, I felt like we were in a different world. After the bidding was over, he, dressed in a suit and tie, cornered me in the stairs. His eyes were full of irony. "Lin Xia, I told you, I will make you regret it. Look at yourself now. You are a complete failure. This is what you pay for bullying your sister." I kept my head down. Perhaps he felt that I had lost my fighting spirit, so he sneered, "Yes. Now I have nothing. I am abandoned by my friends and relatives, trampled upon, and am about to be driven out of the home that gave birth to me and raised me." But just as he was about to leave, I suddenly opened my mouth and said, "I didn't lose. I won't admit defeat." He shook his head sarcastically, ignoring me, and stalked away. Now, I will no longer pose a threat to his baby Lin Chi. I held onto the wall and slowly raised myself up, but what can I say? That's just who I am. Even if 100 obstacles rise before me, I will still move forward, even if the curtain call is over. I also want to leave a deep impression in the minds of the audience. 21. My father told me that I was not his biological daughter. Actually, I guessed it. Anyway, life like this can be as bloody as it can be. Fate has determined that I will never be able to compare to Lin Chi, but I refuse to do so. Later, Pei Chen took me to the airport. I can't stay in the country any longer. I am being targeted by several parties and I feel like a lost dog. I met a senior who studied fashion design at school. She later went to the UK and opened a small design company. Fortunately, I had accumulated some connections before, and the senior student said she was willing to take me in. The reason I chose a clothing company is because my father started his business by selling clothes. I won't stay abroad like a lost dog forever. I will come back. Take something they are so proud of and smack them all in the face. The moment I boarded the plane, I left my homeland, staring at the clouds drifting in the wind. I felt so truly at that moment that I was abandoned by the whole world. I wish life could be a cool novel. Just recite it. 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. You will have the confidence not to bully the young because they are poor. I didn't have a good time in my first year in the UK. The most outrageous thing is that someone else's bid was higher. Once, when I was halfway through renting a house, the landlord pushed my luggage and bag out of the room overnight. This was the work of Lu Zhao, who was far away in China. He called me and spoke viciously. "My sister is unhappy these days, so I can't expect to be happy either. It's humid in London. It rains as soon as it says it will." The dense dark cloud seemed like the wrath of God. I hid under the bridge with my bag. There was no way to stop the endless rain from flooding into the design draft in the bag. It was like there was no way to stop myself from falling into darkness. "You still don't believe in fate." Pei Chen said this to me when he saw me off. "Do you still not believe in fate? Maybe you will be torn to pieces. Maybe everything you do is in vain, and in the end you will be thrown into the dark underground. Are you going to fight again? Do you want to try harder?" maybe even if you try, it will be useless. I wiped the rain off my cheeks. With trembling fingers he dialed the number, until I heard his clear and gentle voice on the other end of the phone. Hello, you're so cruel that you're not willing to call me until now. He always seems to be arrogant, detached from the world and out of touch with reality. I held the microphone tightly and asked him softly, Pei Chen, should we believe in fate? The person on the other end of the phone was silent for a moment, then answered me. I'm also looking for the answer to this question. I found out later, the night I called Pei Chen. He had just had a falling out with his family. Pei Chen, who graduated from a prestigious university and had outstanding abilities, ran away from home. He said he didn't want to do it and didn't want to inherit the family business. So he put his bank card and all his savings on the table in his father's study. Later I learned about his ambitions. A year and a half later, he sent me a series of photos from the other side of the earth. 22. Spring goes and autumn comes. It seemed as if all the troubles and unbearableness in the world fell on Pei Chen and me. I was rejected by my 11th partner on the streets of London. Pei Chen lost his most expensive lens in the war in Syria. Yes, his ambition is to be a war photographer. I just found out that the welfare home where he used to stay. The largest number of children adopted are orphans abandoned during the war in Southeast Asia. Maybe that little seed, it was ingrained in his heart when he was very young. Until now, it has taken root and is driving him forward. He spoke to me on the phone for the last time during the war zone sirens. He said, Lin Xia, I figured it out. That's what I do. Later, all communication with him was done through letters. From his writing, I can imagine the scene of continuous gunfire. The roof tiles were shattered by the smoke, but the most shocking thing is, but they are the clear eyes of an innocent child under the tiles. He said he was unable to save the little girl. When enemy planes came to bomb, he was dragged under a bunker by the officer who was responsible for protecting the journalists. What about the little girl? Later he hastily dug deep into the ruins, but I can only see the fragments of pink cloth slowly collapse, many times. I feel like fate is playing a huge joke on us. The exchanges between him and I in letters were like a competition of misery. I was betrayed by my designers. He nearly lost a leg to a bomb dropped from a plane. Later, fate seemed to have loosened its grip on our throats again. My design company started to pick up a little. A photo of Pei Chen was shown at an international film festival. He said this when he received the award. If the bombardment is not strong enough to strike the heart. What about the child's pure eyes under the shells? There are tens of millions of such children in wars. Many of the photos taken by Pei Chen were sent to me directly. Sometimes, I would help him select some photos and submit them to journals and websites. One day, I saw him write these words on the lower right corner of the back of a photo. The handwriting is hasty, but the strokes are firm. If your pictures are in number 39, good enough, you aren't close enough. If your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. This is probably the meaning of what people like Pei Chen want to do at the cost of their lives. 23. In the 5th year since leaving my hometown, our design company is finally on track. My design work won a very prestigious award abroad. Fate was finally on my side. I greet the dawn to the sound of waves on the shore. But Pei Chen could never be found again. He didn't contact me for a long time, and I had no news from him for a whole year. That's what war correspondents are like. Even if they are exposed under the camera, they may be talking and laughing the day before, and be left on the battlefield forever the next day. I couldn't contact Pei Chen no matter what I did, and I felt anxious for the first time in a long time. When did I start to care so much about Pei Chen? It was he who kept sending me letters. It was he who occasionally borrowed a military phone from a war zone under fire to talk to me. He sent me all the photos he took. He said, Lin Xia, if one day I am gone, please help me sort it out and publish it. When I came to my senses, I had already used all my connections. I read the letters he wrote to me over and over again. However, Pei Chen disappeared for too long. Is it true that being with Pei Chen will make one unlucky? Now that Pei Chen is gone, my luck has improved. As the company grew bigger, my status in the fashion industry also rose steadily. It was as if an invisible hand was dragging me. This kind of rising joy is clearly what I was looking forward to, but I am overwhelmed by a sense of loss that no one can share. On New Year's Eve, I was walking alone on the streets of London. In fact, in recent years, the British have also been quite keen on celebrating the Chinese New Year. Some streets even have red lanterns hung on them, but this kind of unity festival is meaningless to me. I walked with my head down until a pair of leather boots appeared in front of me. I don't know why, but at that moment, all my resentment, unwillingness, and all the grievances I had suffered in a foreign country burst out. I stared at the man in front of me, pushed him. While pushing, I asked him, "Where have you been? Where did you go?" I asked. "Won't you tell me something? Is it that difficult to send a letter with a few scraps of paper? Do you know, I thought you already." I didn't say the rest, because he suddenly hugged me in his arms. How long has it been since I hugged someone? So much so that when I raised my hand, his body temperature seemed so unreal. "Feel sorry." His voice was hoarse. "While reporting in the war zone in Syria, I was kidnapped by local armed forces." He rested his chin on my shoulder and rubbed my head gently with his fingers. "We were held captive by the local warlord for 9 months. I'm still scared now, Lin Xia. Those officers killed people in front of us. I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid I'll never see you again." Fireworks rose crisply in the sky. All my complaints were inexplicably swallowed back. I just clung to the jacket of his coat. "I just don't know. I still have something left." 24. Time may really change people a lot. When I was driven abroad, I was angry and unwilling, with the determination to fight back again. Returning to China now, I feel like a lifetime ago. Everyone has become different. I was a student at that time and still had the childishness of youth. Whether it is hate or love, it is very clear. In the adult world, expressing true feelings does not exist. Hypocrisy is everywhere. I met Jiang Shuhuai at a drinking party hosted by a local real estate tycoon. Now my status is equal to his. No, he even needs my help. I looked at the man and toasted me with a smile. It was as if he had never pulled me into the abyss, never abandoned me. Yes, the adult world is full of hypocrisy. I clinked glasses with him and exchanged a few polite words, as if there was no grudge between us. He then asked his assistant to focus on dealing with Jiang Shuhuai's company. Because he has been helping Lin Qi like a madman in the past few years, the funding chain of Jiang's company has been broken. He thought it would be easy to get my sponsorship because of our past relationship, but I rushed over and kicked him a few times, adding fuel to the fire of their financial deficit. And there is Lu Zhao. This person pursued Lin Qi for many years without success. Instead, he gave up on himself and spent the whole day feeling depressed and frustrated. I met him behind the bar. He was pretty drunk. He was so decadent that I didn't even have the desire to beat him up. I kicked him as he fell asleep due to alcohol numbness, asked the assistant to put down the stray dogs trapped in the car. For a moment, in that deep alley, the shouts of men and the barking of wild beasts could be heard. So, the culprit behind all this, where has my dear sister, Lin Qi, gone again? Once again, fate brought the two of us to opposite places. Another bidding meeting. It is this bidding that determines whether my company can successfully enter the domestic market. I met my sister during several previous collaboration meetings. She still likes to wear white dresses. Just as I expected, he stepped on his father to get to the top and became very successful. She blinked her big eyes and shook hands with me, whisper in my ear, "Sister, why did you come back? Do you want me to take everything away from you again? This is a little rabbit." She bared her fangs at me for the first time. I think I really threatened her. She squinted her eyes and smiled at me cutely. In fact, I have always vaguely known that she is scheming, but she hid it too well, and the people around her were obsessed with her as if possessed. Pei Chen returned to China 2 weeks before the bidding meeting. I was extremely busy at that time. For this bidding, in order to win Lin Qi, I had to be fully prepared, so fully prepared that even a nanometer microscope could not find any flaws. After I drank the 3rd cup of coffee, he forced me to say on the phone, "Come down and stop looking at your crappy copy." I got into Pei Chen's car and fell asleep. No matter how strong the caffeine is, it can't resist sleepiness. He sighed and reluctantly covered me with a blanket. I woke up in the evening. The low light outside the window spread inwards in a slanting line. He was holding a camera, not knowing what he was taking pictures of. "Stop filming." I ruffled my hair and told him I wasn't wearing any makeup. He capped the lens. Then he handed me a folder and smiled bitterly. "Lin Xia, do you remember asking me, should we believe in fate? Now, I don't know." I opened the file bag and found several photos inside. Lin Chi held a man's hand and went in and out of several hotels. Pei Chen rubbed his eyebrows and said, Gu Lengting, you know, right, he is the CEO of the company you are targeting for this bidding event. I don't know how this guy is so awesome. His businesses cover the whole country and his family has a background. Yes, he clicked on the photos. How many times has he and Lin Chi been in and out of the hotel? Are there any questions about who will win the bid this time? It's almost like saying that this bidding event is just a gift given by the boss to please his little lover, but that's not where my focus is. I looked at these photos over and over again. Ask him, Pei Chen, you are a war reporter, how come you know the paparazzi? This shooting angle, must it be taken by a pure paparazzi, right? He put his fist to his lips and coughed. Well, I took the photo myself. The average journalist doesn't have my level of guerrilla warfare skills. I put the photos away, then give it back to him, smile at him. I know, in fact, I have a friend who has been working in the artificial intelligence industry. Before coming here, he asked AI to calculate the probability of me winning the bid this time. What do you think it is? 37%, but I still think I can win. He stood there in a daze, then suddenly laughed. He raised his camera, pointed it at me, and asked me, why, before, I always thought I was the second female lead, that I was destined to be a supporting role, and that I was the cannon fodder that would eventually be sacrificed. But, what if I'm actually the protagonist of another novel? What if someone is watching me, hoping that I will fight back, hope that I will win? Hope that I will defeat my destined opponent. I looked towards the camera, curled the corners of my lips, and spoke softly. I won't lose. The probability is 0.37, right? At some point, 0.37 will become 100%. Make sure you look at me carefully, and make a grand finale. The organizer of this bidding meeting is the elusive president, Gu Lengting. I asked him out several times, but he refused. Until I mentioned my sister Lin Chi's name and talked about the grudge between me and my sister, finally got a chance for a 20-minute interview. He is indeed the legendary man who has a strong aura, elite nobility in his every move, and powerful enough to kill someone with just a flick of his wrist. He raised his chin and looked at me arrogantly. Ms. Lin, even if you use your sister to buy a few minutes, I don't think we have anything to talk about. I smiled and said to him, Mr. Gu. They all said that I bullied my sister. His eyes narrowed slightly and stared at me, but I didn't do anything, and all the men stood by her like a demon, trusting her wholeheartedly. I'm very worried, Mr. Gu, you're in the same state as well. He was visibly annoyed and glared at me. How dare you speculate about me? I shook my head. I'm just advising you to choose a career, thinking of the fate of Jiang Shuhuai and Lu Zhao, I added, so as to avoid suffering and regret later. He sneered. Why should I choose you as my career? I paused for a moment before getting into the main topic of today. Because Mr. Gu, you know what kind of person my sister is. The proposals I sent these days are better than those of my sister, right? Can you see that? This bidding event may just be a small toy you give her. But have you ever thought that choosing me will bring greater benefits to your group? This little bit of benefit may not mean much to you. But what if this benefit can trigger a bigger chain reaction? It took only 4 years for my brand to become a global hit. You are a rational businessman, not a love-brain person, right? I just hope that you can treat this bidding fairly when the time comes. The man stared at me without saying anything. I bowed and said goodbye to him politely. I don't want his reply. I just want to plant this seed in his heart. After that, I immediately devoted myself to revising the plan. Of course, the 20-minute interview with him was not to talk nonsense with him. In order to communicate with clients at work, I taught myself some psychology, build his image in your mind, and then guess what kind of proposal Gu Lengting likes to present. Everything from the report to what you wear on the day to the tone of each word you say has to be changed. I was busy for 5 or 6 days, the day before the bidding meeting. Pei Chen asked me to go hiking. In fact, my steps were a little weak, and he told me that he would take me to bed after we finished climbing, and the reason why we must climb up, because the temple on the top of the mountain is very powerful. I was amused. Pei Chen, are you so superstitious? He stood under the temple with his hands in his pockets. That day, when I found out that Lin Chi was the little girl I missed when I was a child, actually, I moved. I looked at him in a daze. And then asked him subconsciously, then why aren't you with her? because I don't believe in fate. The wind blowing through the temple lifted up the red silk. He walked towards me step by step, with a red amulet around my collar. But now, I can't help but want to worship the gods in the temple. Please ask them to let you go. Ask them to stand by you for once. He just hugged me like that. Interlock your fingers and insert them into your palms. I don't want you to be sad. I don't want you to be unhappy. I don't want you to put in so much effort only to end up in failure. Did you know, that day when you called me and asked me whether we should believe in fate, I'm heartbroken. I stared at the sycamore tree in the yard. She raised her head and ruffled his soft black hair. I won't lose. Pei Chen, I told you so. I won't lose. In a blink of an eye. It was the day of the bidding. Lin Chi seems to like wearing white dresses very much. And white really suits her. Seeing me, she smiled at me gently. It was as if I was not her competitor, as if I was her biological sister whom she hadn't seen for many days. There are quite a few companies participating in the bidding, but in fact, most people also know that the final winner will be between Lin Chi and me. We are an emerging brand company with strong strength. The other is the president's mistress. Lin Chi spoke first. She really works hard. But there is nothing much to do except working hard, and we can't even compare with some second-rate companies. But she is a strange person. Although she is not perfect, she can only make people notice her strengths. After she finished speaking, it was my turn. I was a little dazed when I stood on the podium. I had already thought about what I was going to say thousands of times in my mind. I stared at the slowly falling shadows of the trees outside the window. The plane trees sway in the wind. I thought a lot. When I was a child, I studied very hard in order to get my father's approval. They said I was fat, so I went on a diet to lose weight, and eventually I ended up in the hospital. No one came to see me. There is no time for entertainment. I practice body shape in front of the mirror at 4 in the morning, study how to smile most beautifully, and put on a mask to handle interpersonal relationships. Learn violin, calligraphy, and dance. I want to become very, very good. As long as I'm good enough, I won't lose it, but in the end, I still have nothing. The bones were broken. I stood up and put it together again. When will days like this end? Can you please not let me keep failing? My speech is over. I received a round of applause from the room. Everyone was impressed. This was the best I could do. I practiced in front of the mirror thousands of times. Only one person remained indifferent. That is, Gu Linting sitting in the main seat. He began to summarize the bidding meeting. The only plan mentioned was Lin Chi's. As I listened, my mood began to sink into an icy cave. Could it be that I failed again? Why do I always refuse to admit defeat? Time and time again, my bones are about to be broken. How could this probability of 0.37 be on my side? I looked up and met my sister's teasing gaze. She didn't even have to mock me. Just looking at me so tenderly was enough, as if to say, "Sister, have I pushed you into hell again?" I forced myself to sit on the chair. My stomach is a little cramped and I feel restless. I could hardly hear what Gu Linting said. I heard him praising Lin Chi, saying that he could see the pure heart of the person who prepared this plan, and although it had some shortcomings, it was the most beautiful work he had ever seen. As he was talking, the man sitting in the main seat fiddled with the ring in his hand. Then, his eyes fell on me. But I think the final company that will be entrusted with this project, I'm going to give it to Miss Lin Xia. I looked up suddenly. The scene played in slow motion in front of my eyes, and what Gu Linting said caused an uproar in the conference room. Lin Chi stood up suddenly. I heard Gu Linting say, "Ms. Lin Xia, your proposal is so perfect that I cannot refuse it. I am a businessman, and I appreciate that you do what you say you will do." He came over and shook my hand. I immediately maintained a respectable smile. Applause broke out in the conference room at some point. It seemed like I hadn't seen such an admiring look on my face for a long time. Only Lin Chi stood up, her eyes red as she looked at Gu Linting. Then he ran out angrily. My vision was blurry. It was like seeing myself many years ago. The little girl who was pressed into the toilet. The little girl who curled herself up. She asked me, "Lin Xia, did you win?" I think I won. The one I defeated was not Lin Chi. I win my destiny. After leaving the company, I picked up my cell phone and called someone. He picked up quickly. A light laugh came from the microphone. "Well, how's it going? You guess?" I winked and teased him. "I guess you won the bid. Hey, photographer Pei, you guessed it right." He smiled. and that seductive smile made me unable to stop smiling. He asked me, "Where are you?" because I was eager to share the news with him. I sat next to a newsstand in front of the company. I told him the location. He said, "Lin Xia, you won't forget that today is your birthday, right?" I'm used to birthdays, but his words made me want to go along with him. "So, what gift did you prepare for me?" Pei Chen, go to the newspaper office near you and buy a magazine called Protagonist. The sun was shining brightly that day. Pigeons are playing beside the fountain, and leaves blown by the wind are hidden in the pleasant ripples. I saw my face reflected on the cover of the magazine called Protagonist. Pei Chen is very good at taking portraits, so I am not surprised that he contributes to some magazines. What surprised me was that my face could actually be put on such a big cover. Yes, he took the picture of me in the car that day. Half of my face was in shadow. My eyes were bright as I faced the camera. When he pressed the shutter, I said to him, "Make sure you look at me carefully, and make a grand finale." I laughed. The wind blew my hair. Pei Chen stood opposite me with a camera. His voice came over the phone, "Even if the road ahead is bumpy, we will move forward courageously. Lin Xia, you are the protagonist of your own story. Always, extra." How many years has this been since that bid? I am not old yet, but my sister has already been buried. I stared at the photo on the tombstone. Just at this time, a pampered hand reached out to me. He stroked slowly, groping for my sister's photo on the tombstone. Even though he was wearing sunglasses, I knew he was blind. He is not an ordinary blind person. He is Gulingting. Oh, now he has lost tens of millions of assets and has become an ordinary person. "Hey, Kiki, Kiki," he murmured, tears streaming down his face before he could speak. "Will you forgive me? Please forgive me. I shouldn't have removed one of your kidneys. Shouldn't have asked you to donate blood to other women when you were pregnant. Shouldn't have forced you to donate your corneas. Look, I gave you my corneas. I shouldn't have broken your legs just to imprison you. Chi-Chi, I don't want to force you. I love you. I love you." Sorry, the man was in pain, and I moved aside a little, afraid that his tears would splash onto my trouser legs. Next to Lin Qi's tomb, there are also Jiang Shuhuai's tomb and Lu Zhao's tomb. It seemed like they were jealous of each other over Lin Qi. Both drove off a cliff. I really don't even have the desire to sigh. I placed the white flowers next to my sister's tombstone and left. After passing the cemetery, I saw a white car waiting for me. Pei Chen lay on the steering wheel, looking at me lazily. "You're quite thoughtful, visiting your sister's grave." I shrugged. I just wanted to ridicule her fate. He laughed and started the car. Then, casually, "Lin Xia, I'm going to the battlefield in Libya next month." "Hey, it's always like this. The time I return home is so short." "Lin Xia, you are not young anymore. You should find a partner and get married." "I don't know if I can make it in time for your wedding." I interrupted him. "Pei Chen, I'll go with you next month." He slammed on the brakes and froze in place. He asked me tremblingly, "What did you say?" I said, "I'll go with you. The reporter who was your partner before has resigned, so I will be your new partner." Anyway, Lin Qi is dead, so I don't have much motivation to roll anymore. Who wouldn't be moved after seeing so many of the photos you sent me from the battlefield? I want to live my life to its fullest. I said these words with a little awkwardness. He pressed me against the car window. "What are you doing?" I patted him on the back. There was a light in his eyes and he looked at me hesitantly. "Actually, I know this guy. He liked me and wanted to kidnap me." But the nature of his job meant he couldn't say it out loud. I raised my hand and ruffled his black hair. "Alas, it's not just for you, Pei Chen. It is impossible for anyone to remain indifferent after seeing the horrors of war. And now, calling for peace and diverting public attention to the harm caused by war is the only way for you, right? Will you laugh at me for being arrogant? I want world peace." The tip of his nose was on my neck, and he spoke softly. "Don't be arrogant. That's what people like us do, isn't it?"